Welcome to the Spinoso Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Alex Spinoso. I built multiple 7- and 8-figure businesses in the medical field and helped countless entrepreneurs scale their own medical and aesthetic companies. This isn't a podcast where I tell you, you should do this. This is a podcast where I tell you what I did. I want to help you build your business, take ownership of your life, and become a better leader at home and at work. So let's get into it today. Let me start by telling you a story. Sophomore year of college, I went public with my ass cheeks. Literally. Now, before you hit pause, let me explain. I was broke, hustling, dual sport D1 athlete, soccer and rugby, lifting and training daily, barely affording groceries. Yeah, I was pre-med, but I was also an art minor because, balance. And one day, I found out that you can model for the art department. I'm talking full nude, stand there and do nothing. Modeling, $20 a session, cash. You just stand or sit or pose like a Greek god as a bunch of freshmen try not to giggle while they sketch your junk. I said, sign me up. Add in donating blood and plasma twice a week, and I can finally afford a Chipotle burrito without rationing it over 2 days. Well, one day after a modeling session, I'm walking across campus to grab lunch, and I pass the campus art museum right next to the dining hall. And there it is. Dead center, front window, no warning, a giant, life-sized painting of me from behind. Fully nude, ass cheeks out, lit beautifully by some dramatic Baroque spotlighting like it's the cover of a Renaissance-themed Men's Health. People stared, a lot. Some pointed, some even laughed. A few tried to pretend they weren't looking, which somehow made it even worse. But I didn't flinch, didn't cover up, didn't pretend it wasn't me. I chuckled to myself, and I walked on by. Because I owned it. Here's the thing. That painting, it didn't humiliate me. It exposed me, literally and figuratively. But I wasn't ashamed. Why? Because I was in it. I was showing up. Ass cheeks and all. Beautifully glistening in the front foyer. I was doing the work. Lifting, training, studying, grinding, growing, building. So yeah, I was broke, but I wasn't lazy. I wasn't hiding. That painting didn't show a joke. It showed a man in motion. Someone trying to build something. And more than that, it taught me something most entrepreneurs still haven't figured out today. Eventually, the world is going to see the real you. Not necessarily you with your bare ass in a gallery, but your truth. Who you are. Your work. Your flaws. Your weird. Your heart. And when that moment comes, you better be ready to own it. You see, we live in a world obsessed with image curation, polished headshots, perfect captions, authenticity that's been filtered and triple edited into a LinkedIn post. But the truth always shows up. Eventually, your team sees how you lead under pressure. Your clients see what your company culture actually looks like. Your friends see if your confidence is real or performative. And if you've been bullshitting the world, guess what? They're gonna find out. Now the question is, will you flinch or will you own it? Because the leaders who win long term, they don't just tolerate exposure. They weaponize it. Look at the artists and entrepreneurs who actually broke through. Lady Gaga wore a neat dress on the VMAs. People mocked her for it. Now she's a global icon with multiple Grammys and an Oscar. Dave Chappelle walked away from $50 million because he didn't like the direction his show was going. Everyone called him crazy. They said he had a mental breakdown, escaped to Africa. 10 years later, he came back stronger, sharper, and more respected than ever. Elon Musk tweets like a 14-year-old Reddit troll. But guess what? He's built 4 industry-defining companies, changed the history of mankind, owns the narrative every time he opens his mouth, and he's the richest man in the world. They've all been laughed at, mocked, doubted, but they stayed true to who they were, not because they were trying to be edgy, but because they understood this. If you hide your weird, you dilute your power. If you spend your whole life trying to look appropriate, you never build anything great. You just become forgettable. Now let's be real. Owning your stuff doesn't mean turning it into a live journal. It doesn't mean you need to trauma dump on Instagram or film a crying video every time you miss a KPI. What it does mean is this. Stop hiding the parts of your story that might be embarrassing, but actually make you interesting. Stop pretending you've always had it together. Stop filtering out the hustle, the grind, the scars, the stretch marks, mental or physical. You've got to show up raw sometimes because that's what people connect to, and more importantly, that's what keeps you honest. You're not building a brand, you're building you. So why not let the world meet the actual person behind the product? I'll tell you what my team sees when they work with me. They don't see a guy who has all the answers. They see a guy who shows up, who's consistent, who'll own his wins and his screw-ups, who'll laugh at himself and then get back to work. They see someone who isn't afraid of being seen, and that's the key. As a leader, your credibility doesn't come from being flawless. It comes from being real, from owning your mission, owning your story, owning your weird, even when people point, even when they laugh, especially when they laugh. So no, I'm not telling you to go get naked and hang a portrait of your ass in Times Square. That would be awesome though. But I am telling you to stop hiding the most honest parts of yourself, because those parts, they're your leverage. Own your journey, own your flaws, own the hustle, own the work it took for you to get there. And for the love of God, own your cheeks. Because whether you like it or not, the real you is going to show up. And when it does, make damn sure it's a masterpiece worth putting in the front window.